Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everybody. And Lisa, thank you so much for the opportunity to participate in your book launch. What a great title, Risk Starts and Ends with People. It's such a profound insight, really. It makes so much sense. It's so simple. It's why did we think of it beforehand? Why have we expressed it before? I think the reason is many, of course, but not the least of which is we don't actually fully appreciate that institutions exist and the organisations which we operate in exist because of us. They're not natural, they don't come out of the ground, you don't just add water and they turn up. We've created them principally for two reasons, two interrelated reasons: to move ourselves away from any sense of suffering or harmfulness or threat or peril, and to move us towards happiness or well-being or human flourishing. And pretty much anything that we do as a human species is predicated upon those two thoughts or those two intentions: to move away from harm and to move towards some sense of happiness or well-being or flourishing or goodness. And that's where we all want to be, but we can't always get there. And often we don't get there because of the way we think, speak and act. So we engender a lot of fear into our organisations and into our own minds. And that forces us to do things which are less than helpful, and some would argue even harmful. Getting to the nub of the issue, the risk starts and ends with people, really gets to the heart of risk, I think. And this book does it so eloquently. I really love the aspect of the safe zone. I think it's incumbent upon leadership in any context of organisation to create safe space for expression, for adventure, for courage, for failure. And to do it in such a way that is supportive, respectful, ethical, has a moral basis to it. And that moral basis is essentially to care for one another, to care for oneself as well, of course, to show compassion, to limit harmfulness in all its forms, is a way of setting up a safe space. In my own leadership and my own research in my PhD, it became incredibly obvious that the vast majority of people, particularly the organisations for which this book refers to, do want to or are trying to do the right thing. Sometimes unskillfully, of course, and sometimes with a whole lot of barriers in the way. But what really helps is exemplification. When leaders give permission for people to feel, to think, to fail, to be adventurous, to be committed, to be relatable, then people follow that. If leaders can act virtuously and show compassion and kindness with wisdom, with profound wisdom from lived experience and the wisdom of the sages, then we get the best out of our people. But if we don't do that and we can't create a safe space, we get the opposite, and we inherit a whole lot of risk and harm into our organisations that we're ultimately trying to get rid of through process, system, procedure, rules, and enormous amounts of investment, without really looking at the nub of what's going on, which is that our people may not be happy, or our people may not be motivated, or our people may not be supported. And if we look a little deeper, we'll find out that the leadership is lacking in some level. Everything, I think, sheets home to leadership in the context of risk, which is what Lisa talks about in her book a lot. I think as leaders, we need to continue to improve, and particularly to rediscover what it means to be virtuous, what it means to have practical wisdom, what it means to bring the lessons of life into our leadership frame, and all of those things that we learned that moved us away from suffering and towards happiness, or cause suffering to ourselves and others that we would not want to replicate or duplicate or have to experience again. And that is the basis of our relatedness in all institutions and organisations. And that sense of understanding of that notion of non-harmfulness and where harm comes from our thoughts, our words and our actions, and doing something about that is an incredibly easy investment in our organisations, which reduces so much of the risk that we're trying to get rid of through other processes. So I really commend Lisa for her book. It's a great insight. It is profound in every sense of the word. It's exciting. I think it gives leaders something to work with. It gives us a way of being in the world. It gives us an opportunity to change for the better, for all of our sakes. And it takes away the sterile and cold and calculated logical nature of risk and puts it, it gives it a heart, it gives it a spirit, it gives it great insight as to what it really means to be human. And that is, as I said, is to move away from suffering and harmfulness, threat, hazard, and peril, and to move towards happiness, well-being, and flourishing, the best of what it means to be human. Lisa, congratulations. It's been a great pleasure helping you on this journey, and I look forward to working with you, your colleagues, and your clients for many years to come to shift the ground on risk and to make organisations safer, healthier, happier places that's productive for everybody and benefits the greater good for the greater number. Good on you, Lisa. It's a pleasure.